Good morning and welcome to today's webinar, which is all about what's next and shaping your IBM Domino application strategy. My name is Francie Tanner. I'll be joined by Terri Ward. I am joined by Terri Ward, as a matter of fact.
Hello.
And we'll be telling you all about application insights and how that can help you with your application strategy. Okay, moving right along. Here we go. So a little bit about PenAgenda. Essentially, we help customers and business partners monitor, analyze, optimize, and transform collaboration infrastructures. Looking at the attendee list, I think a few of you already are aware of this, and we don't have to spend tons of time on that. But essentially, our core strength is analyzing collaboration environments and helping our customers make very strategic decisions on how to transform their entire IT environment. Like I said, my name is Francie Tanner. I'm a director with PenAgenda. Terri, you want to say hi?
Hello, I'm Terri Warren, and I'm a technical consultant at PenAgenda.
Great, thank you. Okay, moving right along. My mouse is not collaborating. That's interesting. Okay, great use of technology when it works, right? So what is this whole topic about? I mean, why are we here today and asking you to spend any of your time? Essentially, anyone with IBM Domino is in the same boat. Actually, anybody with any kind of technology is in the same boat at some point in time. If you didn't manage to have appropriate analytics and maybe housekeeping or whatever all along, is at some point in time you have to look at your entire code base, your applications, and go, okay, so what here is actually being used? Which are the most valuable or important applications, and what is stuff that we no longer really need? What can be archived? Like, what can we get rid of right now before we even bother going through any kind of transformation, which costs money, right? Time and money. Which applications are ideally suited towards mobilization or cloud modernization? You know, what exactly should I be doing with these applications? And essentially all that is around how can the scope and cost of your transformation project be reduced, right? You certainly don't want to make any kind of, black and white statements about we're going to transform or whatever, recode all of our applications, because that just doesn't make any sense. First of all, figuring out what you actually need, what's important, what has an appropriate ROI if you put development resources into it is where it's at. So that's actually essentially why we came up with PenAgenda ApplicationInsights, which is a secure virtual appliance that continuously collects IBM Domino application data. So we focus predominantly around usage and design. Terri will give you a demo of ApplicationInsights, and I believe some of you might have already seen it. So we're going to focus a little bit more on the new features. But essentially, ApplicationInsights reveals a tremendous amount around what is used in your environment, what isn't, who is it used by, how is it used by means of web client or rich client, and then doing essentially a code x-ray and figuring out what exactly is in that code, what are roadblocks depending on what kind of transformation that you're working on. So essentially what ApplicationInsights answers is which applications are worth investing in, right? Which have a high cost versus benefit ratio. What can you get rid of? Which apps have code dependencies like DLLs if you want to go to something like cloud that need to be mitigated? What code complexity and dependencies exist? So for example, if you're looking at something like modernization, what exactly do you need to address, or which applications contain similar code, which I'm going to tell you about a little bit more now. I'm going to give you a high level all about new features of ApplicationInsights, and then Terri will give you a demo. So like we just said, one of the things ApplicationInsights does is it provides a usage insight based on who, and actually more precisely, it gives that around department as well as who. Small disclaimer, I think everybody on the call is from the US. I'm not sure, but for those of you in other countries, predominantly in Europe, France, or Germany, whenever we say something like, we could tell you who are using your applications and who are not using applications, or which applications are used by whom, that tends to generate a little bit of a panic. So there are some countries with regulations where it's actually against the law to disclose that kind of information about who's using what. So what we've done is we've come up with an elegant way to obfuscate that data by providing organizational data on departments, but only if they have a certain number of users in them. So it's anonymous in that sense. And then the list that we have for who exactly is an application is used by is obfuscated. And I think Terri will tell you a little bit more about how to get the unobfuscated version, but just FYI, so we've built that in, and I suspect many of you are using or have users in other countries as well, to where that kind of privacy concern, that law may be an issue. So anyway, we've built in great features to tell you not only what applications are being used, but who are they being used by. Terri will tell you all about the custom rule sets, which is an incredible functionality that allows you to essentially look for custom things that we don't already reveal with the standard rule sets within ApplicationInsights. And you can also do things like full text searches across your entire code base, which is incredible. And then my favorite feature, actually, this is an updated one, not necessarily a new one, but it's fantastic. It's design similarity. So which databases have more than 95% similarity, and how are they related, which is incredibly helpful, especially if you didn't necessarily create the entire environment. And basically that means nobody, right, has been there from the beginning. Or it's very rare, I should say, that somebody has been in an environment since the beginning and even would know necessarily the relationship between applications. But what that means is, spending time and money on addressing one of these applications that have 26 other databases with a high amount of similarity. That means spending money on one of these apps. You've just spent, you've just modernized or transformed or whatever 26 other databases. So Terri will show you that as well. Another new feature, you may have read about this on our blog, is Open in Designer, which is just nice for developers. So what we do when we reveal the code that is, for example, a roadblock to a migration, let's just say, we reveal the actual code blocks that present an issue. And now with this feature, a designer can just click on it and open it in the actual Notes Designer. So with that said, I will turn it over to Terri. Make presenter. There we go. And she's going to give you an actual demo walkthrough of ApplicationInsights.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today, and thank you for that, Francie. So many of you have seen ApplicationInsights, and what I'm going to show you quickly, we have pretty limited time, so I will brush through them very quickly, are some of the new features in ApplicationInsights 1.5. And we're really excited about them because we really are putting more power into your hands to be able to help you find your code problems, migration, sunsetting, all those things. We're giving you more power to be able to get that strategy going. So you know the standard dashboard with ApplicationInsights, and that is something that many of you know and love. But what I want to show you is some of our new features. And in 1.5, we added new usage features, which are really incredible. So I'm going to show you some of those features. The contacts database is one of our most complex and one of our most busy. So I'm using that to demo the new usage feature with you today, both by department and statistics. So many of you have seen this, replica information access control. But for our contacts database, which is the number 2 used and extremely complex, we've added new usage capabilities where we've split out active users and sessions into their own tabs. And more importantly, so now you can see whether this is being used by users on the web clients or Notes clients. For us, this application is purely a Notes client app. So you can see what kind of access and what active users there are in the last 12, 90 days. But one of the really interesting areas that we've improved is the sessions and data transfer. So for us, you can break it down and see what you have for reads versus writes for this particular application and what's being transferred or uploaded for data. So for us, we could, for example, take that out of the picture and it won't change because we are a pure Notes client, but you can isolate what kind of reads are going on, what kind of writes are going on to this application. But one of the most interesting features is what Francie mentioned, which is by department. And that is by law obfuscated in other countries because they don't want to be able to see users by departments and things like that. So you can contact sales at PanAgenda, or you can contact the technical consultants, and we can work with you to get an unobfuscated list if you have this data. But we organize based on department and based on number of active users. So you'll see for this particular application, there are more sales using this application in consulting than development in IT. And you can see that with your reads and writes. You can see read-only sales versus development. And the direct members of PanAgenda, you can see that sales and consulting and are contributing a lot more content to this application. So that's really key if you are trying to find out who's using this and what type of activity they're doing, whether for sunsetting or migration or just strategy. And again, here's the names of the people and their departments, as Francie mentioned, those are obfuscated as of right now, but you can certainly contact us. Another really interesting feature is in the area of custom insights. This is really key. This is allowing you to build your own insights into the code to be able to determine things that you need to do. We've had customers say, I would like to use application insights to determine who's accessing applications from a particular IP, for example. We had one customer that had some difficulty where their servers would go down. They wanted to understand where the access was coming from and why the servers were being hit with denial of service. And they were able to create a custom insight, and we worked with them. So I want to just give you a second of basis of understanding. You have rule sets, insights, and patterns, and an application through design extraction basically collects all the code. So that's what you see here. Rule sets are simply a group of one or more insights into the code. And an insight is simply a found pattern in the code. So for us, all the default PanAgenda rule sets here are things like, mail dependencies, mail and encrypt. So mail, send, and encrypt rule set has an insight, and that insight leads to particular patterns: mail, send, and encrypt. So you have rules, insights, and patterns, and you can define those yourself. You could say, I want to find out all the particular top-level certifiers, for example. So we could create a rule set that's webinar custom, and I'm calling it webinar custom because this is a custom for this. And then, so once I create that rule set, now I want to create an insight associated with it. So for an insight, I'm going to call it, say, top level certifiers. Now again, this is for someone who wants to look in their code and say, I want to find out all the code instances where there are O equals pan agenda or O or slash pan agenda, for example. So I can create an insight. And then from there, you need to create a pattern. And this pattern, you could actually, this is a quick overview, but you could say, I want to find out O equals pan agenda. And then you certainly can then test it. And it will search the code and find all the evidence of O equals pan agenda. So you can create with regular expressions or with texts simple custom insights that allow you to identify things that you need. Hard-coded IP addresses, we could go on and on and on. One other area that's really key is the code search feature that came out of being able to do the custom insights. In the code search feature, we allow you to search the entire code, that full text search that Francie mentioned, looking for things like test. Say I want to find all the evidence in my code of something called test. So for here, you can see all of the code that comes up with test, and you can select. Here's something interesting, is if you select test, in this case it's actually test in this string, minute string. So you could actually select by whole word instead, so that you want to find just the instances of test. And then from there it points you to the code. And one of the new features, so you find all the evidence of test in your code, and one of the new features that Francie mentioned and that we really did a great job implementing was the open in designer. So you find all the evidence of databases that have code that has test, and you can actually then turn around and open it in the designer and find out all the examples of in your designer. So you can actually, for developers, go and find out, what do I want to do with this, where is it, and how do I deal with that. So that is the open in designer feature, which is really key. So that's a really exciting new feature that really helps you design your own insights to solve your own data analytic problems with your Domino landscape. Another new feature that we want to go into is for the similarity. And for similarity, we've added this concept of clusters. Similarity is very important for many people who are trying to find out low-hanging fruit, for example. What databases all have the same template? And so therefore, if I know that I modified one template, then I know that these databases are all similar and associated with it. So one of the new features that we give you is the template candidates. We have customers that have, for similarity, just an unbelievable tree of databases or applications that have inherited design but have been modified in some way. So they need to understand how it differs from particular templates. And with the template candidates, we'll give you a list of all the potential templates that affect these databases, these applications that are very similar. And then from there, you can actually go in and pick one, for example, and open up that particular instance. So we give you an overview with all the candidates, and then on top of that, we allow you to access each one, each instance for that application. So then you can go find out design similarity, more complexity, and application-specific information. So that's another exciting new feature.
Definitely my favorite one.
Yes, that one, and of course the open in designer, which is really key. One of the other areas that we've really done a lot, and I am going quickly, again, there is a lot here, and I really recommend you upgrade and go out and play with these and contact us if you have any questions. We love to show you all of these, so I apologize that I'm breezing through them quickly, but this is definitely a 30-minute webinar. So for our usage, we've also added in, and I'm going to go back to the contacts, and I'm going to open that up because I want to show you the view characteristics. So for views, we've added new information which can give you information about what are unused views. These are the often most difficult areas of your application because you have a lot of views, and you want to understand what views are used, what views are not being used, what lines of code there are, and we can break it out. You can get an understanding of all your different usage. This is something that customers have asked us for repeatedly. So that's wonderful that we added the ability to break that out as well. And in some of our usage, when we go to the catalog, we've added a lot more ability to toggle and to sort. And this has been key. One of the things I note is when I did a custom insight, and I started to write that for you, after the nightly run and the custom insight is now built in and you can search by that custom insight, you'll be able to go to the catalog and actually sort on that particular custom insight, and it will come up. I have not, that happens at 6:30 at night for the nightly run, so you won't see the insight that I just created, but we allow you to toggle on a lot more findings, and we also now allow you for things like failed databases. You can now export those servers into a CSV file. So we've added a lot more. Customers have asked for more flexibility in being able to sort based on impact, based on information that they've done, for example, greatest hits or a custom insight. And more importantly, we also now allow the ability, when you have things like failed databases and other information, to now download the CSV file and walk away with that list. That was another really incredible feature. So that's a really quick overview of the new features. Definitely download it, upgrade to 1.5. There's a lot of great information. The other thing I will say is our user guide has been updated, and that is really key to understanding the new features in 1.5. It walks through and explains page by page, screen by screen, and it does it at a pace where you can read it and say, I want to understand these custom insights, I want to understand regular expressions, So go ahead and take a cut at the user guide and the upgrade. Francie, I'll turn it over to you.
Sounds great. So thank you for that, Terri. And yes, half an hour is not a lot of time, but your time's valuable, so we're just trying to cram as much as we can into that. So let's quickly go over a couple of usage cases, and actually by that I mean let me throw some slides at you that you're going to get in via email. But with regards to what can PenAgenda Application Insights help you with, as you've seen by now, it can certainly help you identify business value and understand prioritization. Do things like identify immediate cost savings via optimization. It can help you figure out what does cost-effective modernization mean, as well as reducing your total cost of ownership via a migration to the cloud or just migration to a different platform, period. What are the costs versus benefits? So we'll email these slides to you, by the way. That's why I just kind of went through them that quickly, since we don't have to go through them. But how can you learn more? There's great release notes on our site. You'll get all these links via email, as well as in our new academy. There's a bunch of videos that help with very specific topics that are available to you. And like Terri mentioned, the user guide, we've had great feedback on that from our customers, with giving a lot of information that is super helpful. So with that, the very important question, how can I get it? Well, first of all, I think you all probably know how to get a hold of any of us, but we'll post their emails at the end of this presentation anyway. So by all means, we invite you to contact any one of us at PenAgenda. But just in case you're not aware, there is an entitlement version available to customers on maintenance that includes the 50 most used and 50 most complex database instance insights. That's a difficult thing to say. And then for customers that are not on active maintenance, you have the option of going either going through Penagenda, whereas IBM can also sell what we're calling value packs, which is insights in a chunk of 500 databases for more usage and design complexity. So with that, we are just about on time, actually, which is quite amazing. It's 10:28. Whoops, and I realized I left a T off of there. So it's not, you're not, I want to clarify, this isn't Terri Warren, it's Terri Warren. Apologies for that. But any questions you guys have, please jot them down in the little question toolbar. Unfortunately, we can't make this interactive with the way GoToWebinar is set up. But we love your feedback, your questions. Please get in touch with us. Like Terri said, if you already have Application Insights, upgrade to the new version. It's absolutely well worth your time. Terri, any closing comments?
Yes, I can definitely, if you want more information on the 1.5 features, because we've brushed through them so quickly, simply send me mail. Be happy to set up a web session and walk through step by step and discuss insights, etc. So please don't hesitate. It's a great release and there's a lot of power.
Perfectly said. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Like I said, your time is valuable, and I'm super happy that we were able to honor a 30-minute time frame. You all have a wonderful day. Thank you for your time.